Getting good video of our planes can be difficult on a good day, but after a long wait, we've got an answer. And that answer is the new SoloShot 3. Many of you will remember that I didn't like the early SoloShot versions. And that was because they were great at following surfers and socket players, but not RC airplanes. Now, a couple of years later, SoloShot has figured it out. The first change we notice is that SoloShot has gone to a dedicated camera. Everything else about the base looks about the same as it did before. But there's a lot of improvements inside that case. It still has the full-size and mini USB ports for charging and getting data out. We can also use the full-size USB for applying updates. I have the Optic 25 camera that has a 25 power zoom. SoloShot also offers a 65 power zoom camera. Both write the MP4 video recordings to a mini SD slot on the side of the camera. SoloShot keeps a list of compatible SD cards on their website. These adapters make it easy to get the data into your computers, and the camera just clicks into a mount built into the base. We don't have to do any programming to get the camera to work with the base. Both cameras have a hot shoe, and so far I don't think there's any attachments meant specifically for this. It looks like SoloShot might be planning on releasing a module that gives it indoor capability, and that may go on this hot shoe. This docking port is for charging and updating the tag that actually goes in the airplane. This may also be a good place to store the tags so you don't lose them, because they cost like $150. We use this touchscreen to do all of the calibration and settings on the base. The big news here is that the walkabout version of their calibration is gone. That was an official pain in the butt, and it's all automatic now. Setting up the SoloShot 3 for your uses is pretty easy. And while it saves most of those changes, you can go back and change them again anytime you need to. Navigating between the screens just takes a little getting used to. You can actually track more than one tag, but this screen here shows that we only have the one that I got with the camera. For most of us, the best thing we can do is go through the settings and find the group that best applies to our kind of flying or recording. Making these changes isn't difficult, but can have a big impact on how the video looks. The SoloShot 3 has a flight setup, and that has helped tracking a bunch. And in place of doing the walkabout to set it up, this is what happens when you push the button for calibration. In most cases, the calibration system is fully automatic. If you move the base after calibration, it automatically recalibrates itself. And if you think it's necessary, you can make manual adjustments to that calibration. The calibration process can take several minutes to complete. But now we just get to stand there and watch it happen. When calibration is complete, it'll be aimed at the tag, which I have on my model at the end of the flight line. It also starts recording when it finishes the calibration. The tag weighs about 1.5 ounces and is very easy to operate. To me, the big thing about the tag is that we can start and stop the recording from the tag itself. That just eliminates a lot of walking back and forth between the model and the base. The camera graphic has a line through it when the recording is stopped. Other than that, we just have to make sure that the tag is secured very well to the plane. I've been mounting the tag on the outside of the plane, but supposedly it can go inside of a clear canopy. I just haven't tried that yet. But as we've seen with the earlier versions of the SoloShot, all the fancy features in the world don't mean anything if it doesn't track the airplane. The good news here is that they've fixed a whole bunch of that. I've had the SoloShot 3 at the field a few times now, and all of the frustration is gone. It may not be perfect, but we're getting a lot of video that we were missing before. And not the least of the misses before was the vertical capability. And the SoloShot 3 is a whole bunch better at that. The instructions say that you have to stay 30 feet away from the model for it to stay in focus, but that isn't always true. It's always better when the model's more than 30 feet away, which it's pretty much always gonna be. But sometimes I can get a lot closer and it stays in focus, and I don't know what the difference is. This is one of the early videos, and we'd find out later that we had too small a field in it. RC airplanes are just too fast and too active in the air for the camera to keep up when you got the field narrowed down. This is a lot how the older SoloShots used to work regardless of the field chosen. So I've abandoned this idea and gone to a wider field, and everything's a lot better. One thing we have to expect is even with the wider field, if you come by the camera too close in and too fast, the camera's going to lose it. There's just nothing you can do about that, other than staying a little farther away, that is. One of the more welcome surprises was how well the zoom is controlled. I love doing touch and goes, and I was surprised to see how well the SoloShot 3 tracks the landings. The zoom is really smooth and keeps the plane in sight. And even as it passes the camera, which has got to be really close to the 30-foot limit, it stays in focus. This is a shot that we just were not going to get with the old tracking and tilt mechanism. We did notice that sometimes when a plane is going straight away or straight towards the camera and changes altitude a bunch, the zoom doesn't seem to work. With the old SoloShot system, pulling up into a loop at speed meant you're going to be looking for the plane for a while. The SoloShot 3 is way better at tracking them. Throughout the testing, we've had this happen twice. We don't understand it. For some reason, the SoloShot just decided it needed to be looking a whole bunch lower, and then it stayed there. After stopping and then restarting the recording, everything went back to normal. Of course, there's a downside to having the SoloShot 3 working so well. And this is all the SoloShot 3's fault, and I'm sticking to that story. Knowing that the tracking is working so good means I gotta show off. And while this isn't a big incident, it does tick me off some because I know it's all my fault and I was just showing off and got caught. Even the Valiant gets a little bit on edge when you use this much rudder with the flaps out. I know that, but I keep doing it because the plane doesn't look like it should be able to do that. And it turns out that, no, it can't all the time. I let it get too slow, too low, and this is the price. The good news is we're going to have a how-to story on repairing an airplane. So if you want to make some really cool recordings of your flights and don't have a cameraman on the staff, the SoloShot 3 just might be the answer. It might not be perfect, but they've come a long way to getting the SoloShot 3 working right. Now that I know that the SoloShot 3 works, I need to protect it at least as good as I do my wings. With any kind of luck, by the time you see this video, we'll have the protector set for the SoloShot 3 on our site. I sold the other SoloShots, but this one isn't going anywhere. Except to the field, of course.